Okay, we're back. Today I wanted to just talk a little bit more about our faith companions and how we can develop our spiritual faith to be a lot more stronger and unshakable. That's what we want. We want to be unmoved and we want to be unshakable by our circumstances. There are a lot of things going on, as we all know, which can be really hard to take in and sometimes understand. And sometimes it's hard to imagine that people can be as evil as they are. But we have to understand what days we're living in. We have to understand that this is the last days. This is the end times. We are in the book of Revelations and we are seeing things unfold that Jesus warned us about and told us would happen. But in that, we have to keep our faith, and we can keep it strong. It's like a spiritual muscle that we need to work out. And so, literally, you know, each thing that we encounter is going to need those companions of faith. And today, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about patience. Patience can be whether you're standing in line at the store, and maybe it's moving really, really slow. Maybe the lady checking you out or the man checking you out is not exactly up to par, and or maybe the people in front of you, they have a lot of coupons or whatever it might be, and it can frustrate us sometimes. It can be, when you're waiting and you want to get home and, and all that. These are things that we need to show our Jesus out there. And it's the little things that people will watch, especially if you're calling yourself a true Christian, then you better act like one out in public. So put your Jesus smile on, put your Jesus hat on, and go out there and actually do the work of Jesus. Look for people who need help. Maybe there's a lady struggling, can't reach something. Maybe there's a mother who's, had a long day and her kids are screaming and people are impatient with that. We can be helpers. We don't have to be hinderers, okay? We don't have to be even the cause. We should be the solution. So always out there looking for the solution, and in that is the perfect patience. When we think of others instead of ourselves. So these are things that we can do to remind ourselves that, we live in a world of a lot of broken people and people that don't know the Lord. And those of us that do know the Lord, then we should really know how to act, and act like He acts, right? We shouldn't act like the world. We have to be set apart, stand out. And acts of kindness are that, way to stand out. And it's also a way to be patient in a good, helpful way. Okay. And then there's the patience of, waiting for God to answer you about something that you've maybe been praying about. He has His perfect time, and we don't always agree maybe with His perfect time. But we have to understand that if we have prayed the prayer properly, we cannot be like the pagans and keep pleading the prayer, and begging and all that. That's not our position with Christ. So be patient is let your mind know that He's in the process. So maybe the best thing is to, send your angels. Send your angels to go and help with anything hindering that could be hindering the answer. Sometimes that's all it is. It's, if there's something hindering it, or you can ask Jesus, like, is there something I'm doing wrong to stop the progress of what I've been praying for? And a lot of times the answer will be revealed to you somehow. He is not someone who wants to keep us in the dark. I mean, he loves us and he wants his will in us to work its perfect work. So that is one thing that, we can pray wrong too, and we can think wrong, and that can hinder our answer. So always know that he will work his perfect time, his perfect work. A lot of people have made, horrible comments, over all the things that are going on in the world, like the fires out in California, the hurricanes and stuff in North Carolina, calling it God's wrath. This is not the work of God. This is the work of evil. This is the work of the devil. And this is the work of evil politics, unfortunately. Help being hindered to those who need it the most, and all kinds of things. Now, I'm not going to get into details and all that, but this is not God. These are not acts of God. So, unfortunately, again, God gets a bad rap for things like this, but he's not the doer of the evil. He never would be, and he never can be. Just like Jesus had to calm the storm, that storm wasn't sent by God. Jesus calmed the storm that was sent by the devil. Okay, so just remember that God doesn't create the storms, but we can calm them with the words of Jesus. And always remember, when you leave your house, plead the blood over your house, because that will protect your home. There were people who did have their home protected. And, that's wonderful. I'm sure they feel very guilty, though, that, but we shouldn't. We should be so thankful when we plead the blood and he saves our dwelling, okay? These are things that were promised. These are things that are literally our promises. When you're an abider in Christ, you have these beautiful promises, and they're real. And it's time for us to take those promises. It's time for us to start using those promises. So we can rest assured and trust in God. He has our back. He has us. When we abide in him, he abides in us. That's a promise. It's when we are not abiders that things can happen. That's why you want to make sure that you are right with him, and that you are walking with him and walking the right way with him. So putting others before yourself when you're out and about, and understanding that the world is moving at a very fast pace and people are going through a lot of things. And I mean, you are too. Obviously, all of us have things that we go through. But we have the Almighty. We know in whom we trust, and we know where our help comes from. But there's a lot of people who are just hopeless. They feel very, vulnerable, and they're looking for something, but they don't know what it is. And they're afraid to call out to Jesus because they think that they maybe aren't good enough. And some people just don't want to stop sinning. And that's just a fact. But he calls us to a higher place, which is a good place. It's a great place. And we want to be following and walking with him every step of the way. He goes before us. He goes before us. It's wonderful. So when you're walking with him, there is no fear. There is no uncertainty, because you know he's got you. He's got your back. He's fighting our battles for us. So this week, let's work on our patience with others, with our family members. Boy, do I need that sometimes. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. I won't get into that, but sometimes I need patience, and I'm working on that. uh, that is very true. Um, and we all need to have a little compassion for our fellow human being because we're all going through stuff. And as a caregiver, and a lot of, um, I see a lot of, hurt sometimes in the families that are dealing with people who, um, in their family who can't express certain things and do certain things. And it can be really hard on the entire family. And I'm dealing with that in my own family. But so I come home and I'm still dealing with it, which, is fine. Um, but sometimes you do lose your patience, especially with those that you are closest to. Um, and we have to work on that too, because Jesus didn't, he may have lose his patience a little bit with the disciples and reprimanded them here and there, but he never would have yelled at them or, been destructive in his words, right? So it's okay for us to get a little frustrated, but we have to be mindful of our words and keep everything um, to him. So we will work on that this week, me included. I do this for me too. I am going over all these faith companions and putting them to good use, and I am strengthening my faith walk as well. So this is just a good time for all of us to just remember that we have to do those little things in order for the bigger things to fruition in our life. And some of the big things is the healings and the seeing what Jesus told us to go do. But we have to get ourselves right. So let's work on getting our hearts right. Let's work on our patience this week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.